So we've dubbed the sort of next gen winners here in 2021 because we wanted to talk about the technology companies that we see emerging in the future. And Atlassian's one of the first ones we're going to talk about, but you're probably going to hear us talk about this throughout the year. And so Atlassian sits within our area of interest called digital enterprise. So digital enterprise is effectively cloud computing companies. I think it's obvious to everyone watching that cloud computing is taking over from regular computing, and it's all for storing stuff on site. And ultimately, all of us have used cloud computing products through the COVID crisis. And so what we show here on this slide is cloud computing is obviously growing very aggressively across enterprises all over the world. And it's really split between the infrastructure as a service providers. So these are the companies that effectively are the infrastructure providers, the hosting providers, companies that have been in the fund for a long time, like Amazon, Google, Alibaba, Microsoft, etc. But on top of that, you have these software companies that are using this infrastructure to build amazing pieces of software. And these are all software that we all use all the time. So these are things like Xero here in Australia, or things like Microsoft also sits on its own stack, or things like Salesforce.com, or things like ServiceNow or Workday. And so the one we wanted to talk about today was Atlassian. Atlassian has built a very, very strong lead in collaboration software. Collaboration software is simply something that we're showing you on the screen here. It's really just software that helps you execute a project. So when you're working within a large team, you'd normally just email each other going, is this done yet? Is that done yet? Where's this bit at? Where's that bit? The collaboration software allows you to combine it all together into one place. And so it helps people work as a team. That has been Atlassian's goal since it was founded in 2002, and they've spent a very long time doing it. And the reason why we like Atlassian so much is there are a number of their collaboration software products. They have this very interesting go-to-market route, which is effectively we see viral adoption of their software. And so ultimately, they don't use large sales teams to sell their software. They just use a great product and word of mouth. And so when we look at this company, it has the lowest sales to marketing expense of all its peers, yet it has the highest R&D expense of all its peers. And so this is really something to do with the history of the company being founded here in Australia. Without much VC input, they've really had to focus on how great their product was and how well it got virally adopted. And so what that means now, as we look at Atlassian today, it has literally hundreds of thousands of customers all around the world that use their product, maybe in one department of a company or maybe across a company. And their average contract value is less than $10,000. So across their customers, their average customer is paying less than $10,000 a year for their product. And what this means is it creates this incredibly long runway of growth. So you have thousands and thousands of people who effectively love your software. It's going to permeate these organizations over a long period of time. So not only do they scale up in price, these organizations will get bigger and use their product more. And so the simple way Atlassian shows this today is that they have just 15 million users today. But knowledge workers globally is 1.1 billion, i.e. people who have an email address. And all of them effectively over time, through either their service addressable market or their total addressable market, could effectively be using Atlassian products at some point in the future. And because of that network effect around collaboration, this is the same network effect we saw happen with businesses like Google, etc. That network effect around their software means if you're using Atlassian, I need to use Atlassian, so someone else is going to use Atlassian products, and ultimately their products can grow over time. The last and most important reason why we like Atlassian is because of their founders. Mike Cannon-Brookes and Scott Farquhar developed this business really straight out of the University of New South Wales back in 2002. They're still very much engaged in the business today, and they're very much targeting towards what they call their big, hairy, audacious goals. When we look at companies today, they have a very long-term view around the business. And we've owned this company for a long time, for a number of years now, and followed it for many years before that. And consistently, when faced with a dilemma, they take what's in the best interest of the long-term interest of the business. And so ultimately, this company scores a Munro quality score of 100%. And in the long period of times that we're doing that, right now there's a handful, less than 10 companies in our entire universe that score this high. And so ultimately, it has all the qualities that we need to execute on this runway. It has the grounding to execute on this runway. And we sincerely hope they do execute on this runway over a long period of time. Lastly, obviously, we'd flag this is probably the most expensive company we own in the fund today. It trades on very, very high multiples. But this is, again, a classic example of where the market is underestimating how big the opportunity is and how long the runway is. And while the road will probably be bumpy along the way, we do think they have the capabilities to execute on it. And that's why we're flagging as one of our next gen winners for the future.